Alright, today is June 20th at 8:11 in the morning, and just want to share with you my dream that I had. Basically, I was driving a tractor up on a gravel road, came up to this hill. There was somebody like in a go-kart, and then I could see behind them they were on like a planter, kind of like a combine, but more like a silage picker. And the person on the silage picker wasn't paying attention to the person on the go-kart, decapitated him. That caused an accident where the other person that was in the corn picker passed away, so they both passed away. Here I'm trying to call 911 on my phone, that wasn't working. So I parked, the road was going this way, and then I parked the tractor to block the road, so that way for traffic-wise. And then the next thing I know, I'm in a barn. I'm in a cattle barn where there's a bull and a bunch of other cows of all different shapes and sizes, but the bull was the biggest. And I'm kind of up on this mound or this hill with this tractor trying to reach out to call 911, let them know what happened. They're both deceased, so there's nothing they can really do, but at least to get the EMS department out or the medical examiner out and just whatever. And then next thing you know, those two bodies kind of disappear. Well, I think they're still there, but the machinery is not there. The tractor is still there, but I'm on a mound, basically a hill that's degrading, and the cows are eating off this hill. Off to the right hand side of where the tractor was at, where I am at, there's cows that are trying to get up to me or up to that dead carcass of the two dead people, and which is a similar concept because when I was a kid, when I was probably 8 or 9, I think, I went out to my dad's friend's farm with my dad. He was there to help him clean up the manure, and Dad set me on the other side of the gate, cattle gate, and he said, "Here, stay here, you'll be fine, there's no cattle in here." So as I'm waiting there, it felt like forever. I noticed a cow coming in, approaching the gate, and I was standing back, a couple of feet or so. I looked to the right of me, and here's a dead calf in the fence. And then I saw that, and then the cow saw me, looked at that, looked back at me, and I got the emotion, the physical emotion that it wanted to come through the gate and kill me for that interpretation of the death of the calf, or whatever the case may be. And so I started screaming bloody murder for my dad to come help me. And he didn't hear me, and then all of a sudden he finally showed up, and I remember him picking me up over the gate. The cow wasn't there anymore, so I don't even know if the cow was even there to begin with, or the calf was there. I don't remember because I was too young. Anyhow, back to the dream. In the dream, the cows were jumping up. I mean, they were jumping full, straight up. And I kept knocking them out of the way, and then as I realized that the base that I was standing on for that, to keep me safe from the cattle, was starting to be deteriorated, starting to be eaten away. And I'm pretty close to the rafters of this, so I know I can probably hang for a little bit, but it's not a long-term fix. I reach into my pocket where I can feel that there's candy, like Starbursts and other sandy type of candy, granule type of candy, and I start feeding it to them. And then they start getting kind of goofy, which they're not jumping anymore, which is great. But the bull is still jumping, and I remember doing WWE style leg kicks to kick it off balance, so that way it didn't jump up. And then I could feel the whole base start to shake and rumble, and I knew it was going to fall. So then I ended up hanging onto one of the rafters. The cows couldn't get me because I was too high, but the tractor and those two people fell into the cattle, and the cattle basically devoured it all. And so then I ended up, while I'm trying to figure out how I can get a pirate or stay safe longer, I find this bottle hidden in the door frame of the garage door, or the wherever door it was, and it was a little bottle, and it was pink pills, and there was something at the moment in time, like I can see like a part of the word for it. It started with a C, C-I-X-C-I-C-L-I-X-C. I'm not quite sure what it was, but it was like 1, 2, 3. I see the letters, but I can't say them because I don't know for sure what they are. 1, 2, 3, 4, like 6-letter word that starts with a C-L. And anyhow, it didn't have poison label on it or nothing like that. It just whatever it was. So then I started feeding that to the cattle, and then they just started passing out. I'm not sure if they're dead or passing out. I think they're just passing out, just like a sleep med. And then so they finally, once they all finally pass out, I drop down to the floor, exit the door, then the door won't shut, so then I find this ladder that's there, and instead of propping it up or whatever, I actually lay it down as a V on the other side of the doorway. So like if the doorway is here, let's say if the doorway is here, you see this here, and this is the floor. So instead of putting the V this way to where they can basically just push it out, I put it the opposite way, so it's like this. That looks the same. Anyhow, I put it so that way if they push against the V, the opening of the V, it's going to push harder on the door, so it's not going to let them come out more. If I put it the other way, where the nose of it is in the doorway, then they'll just push it right out. So I put the V in the doorway opening, and so then I make it up to this house. And this house, it was dark, but I could definitely tell there's dead people everywhere. Like it felt like a very ancient war that happened. And when I get inside, I try to turn on the lights. They flicker, and I see like dead bodies everywhere. Not sure they're dead, but I'm pretty sure they're dead. And then I end up closing the curtains between one of the two rooms, and I sit on the couch, and I notice that there's somebody beside me. I'm thinking they're dead, and then slowly, like the lights kind of come on, or the sunlight comes up, or something, and this lady kind of turns, and she's half of her face is bloody, and the other half is okay. And then she doesn't say anything, but I recognize her. I recognize her as somebody that I used to know, somebody that I trust, and she didn't say anything, but she kind of communicated with me, saying, "You're okay, you're safe, you'll always be safe." And then somebody else showed up, and then somebody else showed up, and then basically the lights came on, and I was surrounded by people that just fought a war, and they're all safe. And then the image of that went to more of a futuristic timeline where there's all these different suits, all these different warriors that survived, and they have all these different suits and all these different characteristics, and they're all safe. They said, "We won the war." And an impression of the movie Dune 2, but this was like a Dune 2 extended cut series, or extended cut theatrical, is what kind of played on the background of all these different soldiers. So I'm not quite sure what that's all about. It makes me feel, so I spent years about analyzing dreams with a couple people. For like 3 years, we'd go over to their house, and Sterling Hart was one of them. I know he's on Instagram. He's a yoga instructor, also teaches not just yoga, but like he owns Tri Yoga, I believe, in Cedar Rapids. And I'd go over to his house, and some of his friends would be there, and we just analyze dreams. And I've been able to track dreams, and I can recall. I'll probably recall this dream like 10 years down the road. I remember pretty much all my dreams, and so I do know that anytime I have something where it's the foundation of what I believe, like if I'm on the foundation, if I'm on a tractor, I'm a green tractor, which is like a heart center pace, so red, orange, yellow, green, blue. Blue is throat chakra, green is heart center. So I'm basically on this tractor, following my heart, following my passion, and then I come upon these two. I see this incidence where I see these two things. They both pass away. The person in the go-kart could have been me because I had a go-kart that looked very similar to that. Back in the day, I was on kind of like it was basically a 3-row combine. This was kind of similar to that, and then they both died. So I feel like those perceptions of me being a kid and me growing up with my grandparents on the farm, it have kind of died and it went away. Being a kid, being scared, and having the feeling of cows trying to kill me or hurt me or whatever, and being a scared little kid, that also has fallen away. And then the feeling of being in war. I've had a lot of war dreams. I feel like I'm an old soul, so I feel like I fought a lot of wars. I feel like I'm still going to continue to fight in certain wars, but I'm going to be very picky and choosy because I have all these different varieties of soldiers that are all surrounding me. Or I'm surrounding them, I'm helping them as well as they're helping me. So I feel like while the dream itself could have been scary and fearful, it was very informational. And I know last night was the first night in a while, probably a couple of months, where I actually got a download. So a download is basically where I get a tone, a ringing in my right ear. This is my right ear. And with that tone comes usually a very detailed dream or insights or something like that. So I'm happy I had the download. I'm happy I was able to dream and remember and recall everything that I did. The other thing too is when I was an EMT, the reason why I became an EMT was actually to get out of one of the relationships I was in. I felt stuck, and I feel like knowing what I know in the dream of that, hey, these people are deceased, there's no reason to call an EMT, just the medical examiner to pronounce the situation as two deceased bodies. I had an experience when I was an EMT. The last experience I had as being an EMT was going to a house, being by myself. There was a driver, but he was more of a firefighter, not as an EMT. And he didn't really know what to do. I really didn't know what to do, but we basically show up and this person is deceased. He had the molding or the modeling of the skin, so he was clearly like not breathing. And I didn't do CPR. And I was more emotionally distraught by the lady that was there. It was his girlfriend or partner, and she was hysterical. And she, even when the ME showed up, by the time we got the call, by the time I got in my car, drove 6 miles to the other town, hopped in the rig that was ready to go, and went out to the house, it was already well after 8 minutes. And by talking with the ME, by the time the call came in, and the person was found not responsive, even after 8, there's no way that I could revive them. There's just no way. So while that is comforting, it's still scary, and I push it off like, oh, it's no big deal, whatever. But I was definitely rattled, and then I didn't seek help for it. So I've been kind of struggling with that for a while. And that's been 4 years ago. Right now I don't have, whenever I hear the ambulance or the sirens or the tones on the radio, I don't freak out, I don't get scared, I just feel empathy for people that are going through that, and I don't miss the stress. So that was my dream, and the experiences from that dream. So I believe like dreams can really bring a very important insight to your life. That for me was definitely one of them.